reciting the divine narrative from the Gauranga treasures of Bengal about how Ram won Sita's hand in marriage. Following their triumph over the Rakshasas in the forest, sage Vishwamitra informed the two princes, Ram and Lakshmana, of an upcoming sacrificial event hosted by King Janak of Mithila. Consequently, they embarked on a journey to Mithila in the company of the sage. Upon their arrival in Mithila, they were greeted by a scene of grandeur and festivity. The city was bustling with joy, adorned with temples, market stalls selling a variety of goods, and welcoming residents. As they journeyed, they were met with respect and curiosity from the people who had heard of their arrival. The king's ministers, aware of their visit, came to meet them and escorted them to Janak's palace. The anticipation in the air was palpable as the crowd speculated about the purpose of their visit. Some wondered if these were the sons of Emperor Dashrath, and the possibility of them attempting to string the king's great bow intrigued everyone. Janak himself came out to welcome them with great reverence and hospitality. After completing the initial ceremonies, a lavish meal was served to Vishwamitra and the two princes. They sat on silk rugs on the floor, with tables made of ivory holding dishes of gold and silver, enjoying a variety of delicious foods. Once the meal was savored, Janak expressed his gratitude for Vishwamitra's presence in his home and inquired about the two young princes. He patiently waited until they were refreshed and rested before asking about their purpose. Vishwamitra then shared the story of the princes, explaining how they had defeated the Rakshasas in the forest and had come to Mithila with the intention of witnessing the famous bow. Janak was thrilled to learn that they were princes from Ayodhya, and he hoped earnestly that Ram would successfully pass the test of the bow. The following day, Janak, full of respect, approached Vishwamitra and asked how he could be of service to the virtuous sage, acknowledging the honor of his presence. Hearing these words of humility from the gentle and virtuous king, Vishwamitra requested to be shown the bow. Janak agreed, but before leading them to the bow, he provided its history. Janak explained the history of the celestial bow, which had originally belonged to Lord Shiva. Shiva, displeased with other gods' refusal to share offerings from sages, had threatened to use the bow to sever their heads. Eventually, the gods appeased Shiva, and he gave them the bow. Over time, it came into the possession of Janak's ancestor, Devrata, as a reward for helping in a battle against demons. The bow had been treasured within the royal family ever since. Janak went on to describe Sita's divine birth, recounting how she had emerged from the earth during a sacrifice and had been raised as his own daughter. He expressed his decision to bestow Sita's hand in marriage upon the one who could string Shiva's bow. Numerous mighty kings had attempted to bend the bow arrogantly, believing it to be an easy task, but they had all failed miserably. Some couldn't even lift it. Frustrated by their failures, these kings had laid siege to Mithila for a year until Janak, in his desperation, had prayed to the gods for help. In response, the gods had sent a celestial army that swiftly dispersed the belligerent kings in all directions. Thus, the unstrung bow had remained in Mithila, awaiting a truly powerful king. Janak turned to Ram, expressing his confidence that Ram would succeed where others had failed. He admired Ram's beauty, strength, and noble character and eagerly looked forward to Ram's attempt to string the bow. He invited Ram to behold the magnificent celestial bow, emphasizing its divine origin and the fact that not even gods, demons, or other celestial beings could string it, let alone an ordinary man. Janak ordered the chest to be opened, revealing the radiant bow. It cast a golden glow in all directions, crafted from pure horn and adorned with gold and silver depictions of divine tales. The bow bore hundreds of golden bells and ornaments, studded with diamonds and other precious gems. Upon seeing the bow, the two princes were filled with awe. Ram bowed respectfully before it, then circled it slowly, his eyes conveying his appreciation to Vishwamitra, who nodded in response. Understanding Vishwamitra's signal, Ram positioned himself at the center of the bow and turned to Janak. I wish to attempt your test. I shall lift this divine bow to assess its weight and strength." As they watched in hushed anticipation, Ram laid his hand upon the bow. A profound silence enveloped the hall. Janak held his breath. From a balcony in the hall, Sita observed Ram, feeling a natural attraction to the prince. Until this moment, she had been indifferent to her suitors, even though the most powerful kings from across the world had sought her hand. To the gentle Sita, they had all appeared arrogant and overly proud. Sita was profoundly devoted to her faith. Throughout her entire life, she had fervently prayed for Vishnu to become her husband. As she watched Ram confidently approach the bow, her love for the Lord surged within her. Could this be Vishnu himself? Immersed in her affectionate feelings, Sita was filled with anxiety. Would Ram be able to string the bow and become her husband? She clutched the matrimonial garland with trembling hands. Suddenly, Ram grasped the bow at its midpoint and raised it high above his head. The hall filled with gasps of astonishment. It seemed inconceivable. Ram casually tested the bow's weight by giving it a slight toss. Then, he positioned one end of the colossal bow on the ground and effortlessly strung it. He pulled the string, bending the bow into a graceful semicircle. In a thunderous moment, the bow snapped, and the sound echoed like a thunderclap throughout the hall. The earth itself quivered as if caught in an earthquake. Everyone present was left stunned and temporarily speechless. Janak was deeply moved and awed by Ram's extraordinary strength and achievement in effortlessly handling the celestial bow. He was convinced of Ram's divine nature, realizing that Ram was unlike any other mortal king. No one had even been able to move the bow, let alone string it, until Ram had done so effortlessly. Tears welled up in Janak's eyes as he grasped the significance of Ram's divine power. With a heart full of joy and conviction, Janak contemplated the honor and renown that Sita's marriage to Ram would bring to his family. His gaze then shifted to Sita, who stood on the balcony, radiating delight and anticipation, surrounded by her attendants. She eagerly awaited her father's signal to descend and unite with Ram. Janak, with unwavering determination, turned his attention back to Ram, expressing his wholehearted commitment to fulfill his vow. He emphasized that despite Sita's immense value to him, he was resolute in offering her hand in marriage to Ram, acknowledging Ram's exceptional qualities and divine nature. Sita descended from the balcony, holding a garland of golden flowers in her hands. She stood beside her father, adorned in a deep maroon silk sari with a pearl necklace gleaming on her bosom. As she moved, her golden anklets tinkled melodiously, and her diamond earrings swayed gently. With a shy and gentle smile, she cast her eyes downward and then, lifting them slightly, gazed at Ram, who met her gaze. Both their hearts surged with love, forging their union in that very moment. Following her father's signal, Sita approached Ram and placed the garland around his neck, symbolizing her acceptance of him as her husband. Blushing ever so slightly, she lowered her eyes and walked back slowly to her father, who felt his heart might burst with happiness. The king was eager to proceed with the marriage ceremony without delay. He sought Vishwamitra's approval, and once the sage agreed, the king swiftly dispatched messengers to Ayodhya to inform Dashrath.